The first sign is not the silence. It is not the argument. It is not the breakup. The first sign is much smaller than that. One day you say something, and they don't react. Not because they are angry. Not because they are distracted. They simply don't react. The person who once noticed every change in your voice suddenly misses the fact that something is wrong. And for a few seconds, you tell yourself it means nothing. But your body already knows. Because people rarely feel abandoned when someone leaves. They feel abandoned when someone stops looking at them the same way. You notice it in strange places. They stop asking where you're going. They stop asking if you made it home. You can disappear for several hours and nothing changes. Your absence no longer creates curiosity. And that is when the fear begins. Because the terrifying question is never, do they love me? The terrifying question is, do they still notice me? You remember when they used to watch you talk? When they would ask another question simply to keep the conversation going? When your messages made them smile? When your arrival changed their mood? Now conversations feel like obligations. You tell stories that end in silence. You send photos that receive a heart. You say goodnight and receive sleep well. Nothing is wrong. But nothing feels alive anymore. And that is what makes it dangerous. Because you cannot fight something that nobody admits is happening. So you begin working harder. You send longer messages. You become easier to reach. You answer immediately. You become patient. Understanding. Available. You start giving more to someone who has slowly started needing less. And you tell yourself this is love. But sometimes it is fear. Because people do strange things when they feel desire disappearing. You begin studying them. The time they reply. The words they use. Their tone. Their energy. You notice that "I'm tired" appears more often. You notice that they laugh harder with other people. You notice they seem more alive in places where you are not. And suddenly something humiliating happens. You become grateful for very small things. A fast reply. A compliment. A random call. Affection that once felt ordinary now feels like a reward. The frightening part is how relieved you become. You receive one warm message and your entire day changes. You receive one cold message and your entire day collapses. And little by little, your emotional life begins depending on someone who seems increasingly unaffected by yours. That is usually where people begin disappearing from themselves. You stop saying certain things. You stop bringing up problems. You become easier to love. Easier to keep. You act fine. You say you're okay. You say it doesn't bother you. But at night you replay conversations. You reread old messages. You compare who they were to who they are now. You search for the exact moment everything changed. As if there must have been one mistake. One sentence. One wrong decision. But sometimes people don't stop wanting you because of one moment. Sometimes they simply become used to your presence. You become certain. Predictable. Available. The excitement slowly leaves. The curiosity fades. And one day you realize something painful. You are trying to recreate reactions that used to happen naturally. You tell the same jokes. Bring up old memories. Where the things they used to compliment. You become a person trying to remind someone what they once felt. And that is exhausting. Because desire cannot be negotiated. You cannot convince someone to become curious again. You cannot ask somebody to miss you while standing directly in front of them. And yet people spend months trying. Because losing someone's desire feels personal. You stop asking. What happened to us? And begin asking, what happened to me? You start noticing other people. The people they reply to quickly. The people who make them laugh. The people they seem interested in. You watch them become emotionally alive around someone else, and suddenly a terrifying thought enters your mind. Maybe they still know how to feel excitement. Maybe they simply no longer feel it here. Nothing damages confidence faster than realizing someone still has warmth. Just not for you. You begin comparing yourself, your appearance, your personality, your conversations. You wonder if you've become boring, predictable, ordinary. You wonder if somebody else would receive the version of them you have been begging to get back. And perhaps that is one of the cruelest experiences a person can have. Watching someone slowly become a stranger while you still remember who they used to be. Because people often think heartbreak begins when somebody leaves. It doesn't. Heartbreak begins the first time you feel lonely beside someone you love. You can sit next to them, hear their voice, see their face, and still feel incredibly far away. You start talking just to avoid silence. You start asking questions simply to keep the conversation alive. You carry emotional weight that once belonged to two people. And eventually you realize something even darker. You no longer feel wanted. You feel tolerated. They answer. But they don't reach. They stay. But they don't move closer. They listen. But they don't really hear you. You become someone waiting for enthusiasm that used to happen naturally. You become someone checking whether they viewed your story. Someone pretending not to care while secretly watching their last scene. Someone placing their phone face down because looking hurts too much. You tell your friends everything is fine. But internally you are measuring your value through another person's attention. That is the part people rarely admit. Because losing desire does something strange to identity. You stop speaking naturally. You speak carefully. You stop expressing needs. You become agreeable. You become patient beyond reason. You tolerate things that would have once made you leave. You accept emotional distance because occasional affection feels enough. And eventually you realize that the person disappearing is not only them. It is you. You cannot remember the last time you felt attractive without their validation. You cannot remember the last time you felt important without their attention. You cannot remember the last time you entered a room without wondering whether they noticed. And perhaps that is why people struggle to let go. Because they are not only losing another person. They are losing the version of themselves that existed inside somebody else's eyes. The version that felt chosen, desired, important, special. But attention changes quietly. People rarely announce that they stopped wanting you. They simply stop reaching. Stop wondering. Stop noticing. And one day you realize that the silence you feared was never the silence after they left. It was the silence that arrived while they were still there. The moment they stopped asking. Stopped looking. Stopped reacting. The moment you walked into the room and nothing changed. Because perhaps the most painful thing about losing someone's desire is not realizing they stopped wanting you. It is realizing how long you stayed after you already knew. If this felt uncomfortably familiar, subscribe for more psychological explorations of human behavior.